Hi, I'm Kevin Moore, host of The Moore Show, and it's my passion to help you live your best life now. You might be looking to find answers on love, connecting with your life's purpose, reuniting with a loved one on the other side, discovering your past lives, or just helping you make sense, finding your direction now. So The Moore Show has collaborated with the most gifted readers around the world to form The Moore Show Psychics. Now, my readers have a large range of skills to choose from to be of service to you, and all my psychics are interviewed to show transparency, with each interview available on the website. So call now, dialing the numbers on the screen to speak to my operators 24/7, or go to tmspsychics.com to choose a reader or book online. The Moore Show Psychics, helping you transform your present moment into the most loving and happiest it can be. Now, I also offer a full money back guarantee, so what have you got to lose? Empower your life now.
The comments and views expressed on The Moore Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The Moore Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching The Moore Show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. Now, for the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. Now, on today's show, I'm about to be joined with my guest, Justine Alessi. Now, Justine is a master tarot reader and teacher of the tarot, and brings over a decade of practical experience to the table. Now, she has read the cards for people from almost every state in the Union, and word of mouth has people seeking her out for her wisdom and accuracy. Now, Justine Alessi's uncanny accuracy makes believers out of the skeptical, and those who are initially the most hesitant are usually the first to try and acquire more of her time and talents. Justine Alessi, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. It's really good to be here.
Well, this is going to be an enlightening interview, not just for the audience and myself, but obviously for you as well.
Yes.
I know when we spoke earlier off air, you've been through quite a bit just recently, and
Yes,
we'll
I have.
get into that as well. So just for the audience and myself, just tell us very briefly a bit about yourself as well.
No, there's not too much to tell. I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I live now near Cleveland, Ohio, where I have for 42 years. I was married for 46 years to my husband, Bob, and we've lived in this house for 40 years, and he died last spring, well, actually 2 springs ago. And I have 2 children, Mary Ann, who was a nurse. Mary Ann died in January of a very horrendous autoimmune disease, and my son, Anthony, lives in Minneapolis, and he's a CPA for the Internal Revenue. And I have 3 grandchildren, Mary Elise, who's a school teacher, and Logan and Luca, who are little. And that's my life. I read cards. I wrote a book, I think 12 years ago. I never can remember the date. I'm awful. But anyway, I was published by Ozark Mountain, and they were very good to me, getting me out there. Dolores Cannon was wonderful to me. I enjoyed her so much. I read her cards every year, and I just loved her, and I was so sorry when she died. And she did for me what she, I guess, was put in my life for, which was elevated me to a position where I can be considered, a master tarot reader, which I believe I am, and which I love to do. And now, with Mary Ann's death and her sickness and my husband's sickness, I backed off, somewhat from doing a lot of readings, but I decided to go back to it last week, and I'm starting up again. And I find that it's good for me. I find my acuity is so sharp. I don't know if it's because they're guides at this point or what, but the few readings I've done in the last week and well, I will do this week, have been amazingly on target to the point, well, they always have been on target, but I'm starting to see like little visions and things.
Yeah.
Things I had never seen before. I think I told you that.
That's
And
right.
and it's just part of, the growth of spirituality, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've been through a lot, and just before we get back to what you were just discussing there as well, just how did this start for you? I believe you was a librarian, and
Yes.
someone gave you a deck of cards. Is that right?
Right. That's correct. Somebody handed me a deck through it. Actually, it was a young man, and he threw a deck of cards on my desk, and he said, "You can do these." Well, I never even heard of them. Well, I picked them up, and I started looking at them, and they started talking to me. And that afternoon, it was story time, and I had this woman. Her name was Cheryl Gray. She came into the library with her children for story time, and she was from Tucson, Arizona, and she was an Indian. And she looked at the deck of cards on my desk and she said, "Oh, tarot cards, do you do them?" I said, "I have no idea how to do them." She says, "Well, I do. Come on over to my house." So a couple of days later, I went over to her house. She showed me the Celtic cross spread. I don't know why, but I understood them. Dolores said I was a tarot reader in a past lifetime because she had done a regression on me. And I just understand them. They speak to me, and I have been doing this for 30 years. And I love it. I still love it as much as I did then. I quit being a librarian. I started my own, working for myself and enjoying it, and have traveled quite a bit and, done quite a bit of reading. Love it.
That's incredible. So, was there any sort of, when growing up and stuff, was there any sort of anyone that was in the family that had any gifts, or was there any interest in spirituality in a sense in the family?
We were just a regular Catholic family, and my grandmother, on my Italian side, she used to take maloik off of people. I don't know if you know what that is. That's the evil eye, and it's an Italian thing. And what you do is you burn salt in a frying pan, and you pour some oil on water, and then you throw the salt into the water, and it breaks the oil up, and it breaks up the evil eye, and you say these words in Italian. She did used to do that. But other than that, no, there was nothing. Nobody else in my family.
Okay.
Nobody.
Okay. That's incredible. So, but then again, like you've said on this interview, you used to give readings to Dolores Cannon, and I don't think there was many people that were giving readings to Dolores. I think there was a special bond between you and her in a sense.
There definitely was. I loved her. I just loved her. She's even been to my home, and that just blows me away to think that she's, come to dinner here, and she's met my children and loved my husband. Everybody loved my husband, but she really loved my husband. She was a wonderful woman, and I loved her.
Yeah, she was, and she's done some great things, and she left a legacy most definitely. And obviously she published your book as well, which is fantastic. I always find it incredible. You've got these great gifts that you've got. How have they served you in the sense of helping you heal through what you've been through recently as well, with the loss of your daughter and your husband so close to each other?
Well, I think that just the knowledge that there's more, there has to be more, because my daughter was beautiful and very intelligent, had a wonderful job, was very kind. She was an amazing woman, and died a horrible, horrible death. And according to Dolores, that would be that she had chosen that death and, would go straight to heaven and everything, you know how it is. But, and my husband, he too, but he didn't have such a terrible death, but he was 77. And the thing that upsets me, that I've said over and over, is that my husband wasn't real old, but he lived long enough to see his children succeed, both of them. to see his grandchildren, and my daughter will never see that, and that makes me feel bad. So in the beginning, it's only been 2 months, so I was pretty mad about it all, but now I guess I'm coming to some sort of peace about it, and I think it has a lot to do with my spirituality and the fact that I did start reading again. And as soon as I started reading for other people, well, you can't read cards for other people and think about yourself. There's no way. So during those hours, my head is completely not focused, and it's giving me a breather. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm hoping to just get through it like that. I don't know what else to say. I have, many friends. My friends are amazing. They're just amazing. Have done so much for me through all this.
Good.
I mean, they've just stood by me because I'm not from this area, but I've lived here so long. I know everybody, and it's a little town, and it's just pretty amazing.
Okay. Well, you're dealing with it amazingly, and I don't. Well, we've all got different ways of coping, haven't we? I take my hat off to you for the way you are. And I think with the truth that you have on the idea that we're a soul, we have a human experience, and we come from somewhere, we go back to it. That's probably helped you a lot. But it helps you make sense of it, doesn't it? But it doesn't take away the pain. I suppose time will help heal that.
That's what my friends who have done it. I have a friend. She's a psychologist up in State College, Pennsylvania. Her name's Sally Baker. And I was speaking with her tonight on the phone, and she told me to read a book called Journey of Souls, which I don't know if you've ever read it or not, but I never even heard of it, and it's about that. So I'm going to get that book tomorrow and see it. She said it would be helpful. So I'm excited.
Who is that by?
I don't know. She didn't tell me. She just told me the name of it was Journey of Souls, and she had lent it to somebody, so she didn't even know the publication date, if it was new, if it was old. But she said it would be very helpful.
I wonder if I'm going to get this name right. Is it by Michael Newton?
I don't know. She didn't tell me.
Yeah, the Newton Institute, with the famous past life regressionist. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I've got that wrong, and I'll look back at this interview.
It might be. It might be, because she said it was pretty, really like good. So I'm excited to get it.
Doing the work you've done for getting on to 20 years now.
30.
30 years.
31.
Oh,
30 years.
Well, I've got my facts completely wrong there. Okay, 30 years, right? What's your understanding of the reason why we're here?
Well, I think we're here to illuminate one another. And I think that each of us meets people who, everybody we meet, who we come in contact with, has an affect or an effect as well. You know what I mean? And that affect is what we pick up on and what we need at the time, and the effect of them in our lives is what happens. And some people just cross our path for a minute, some cross our path for years and years, some cross our path for, a few days, but everybody who we meet makes a change. And when I met my husband, I was very young. I was 19 and he was 31. And we were at Geneva on the Lake, which is a kind of a resort area, and we had gone, and I was with my girlfriends from Pittsburgh, and we had gone into a bar, and my husband was sitting across the bar from me, and I saw this light around him, and I said to my friend Valerie, I said, I'm going to marry that guy. She goes, you don't even know his name. I said, I know, but I'm going to marry him. And 2 months later, we were married, and he was the love of my life. And when Dolores did the regression on us, she said that we were two souls who had come to the opening of the world. And he said we were real happy. We were dancing to see one another. And then when we were going to fly out into the window of the world, he said to me, this time, he said, you'll be the teacher and I'll have the pain. And he did. He had a lot of physical pain in his life, but he was my teacher. He taught me how to love, and he was an amazing man. And we were together, as I said, for 46 years, but it's that instant, boom, like that. And then with other people who you meet, you don't have that, but you have a connection. And there's almost like a joy.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing that you knew as soon as you laid eyes on him that he was the one?
Oh, I
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
it was.
Yeah.
I remember once when I was 25, he said, because I always knew stuff that was going to happen. All my life I did. But I thought it was normal. I didn't know. And I remember once I was 25, and I can remember where we were sitting, what we were wearing, everything. And he said to me, "What do you think? Everyone's like you?" I said, "Yeah." I didn't know they weren't. I had no idea. I thought everybody knew stuff. But I just know stuff. I don't know how I know it. But I do.
And again, that age difference, the soul, in a sense, knew no age difference, did it really? I mean, when it comes to the soul level.
None whatsoever. My kids used to say we were codependent. We were always together. He was he was a wonderful man. He made my life very beautiful for 46 years. And that's one of the things I have, you were talking about how you deal with death and everything, but I think of that, and I think I had 46 wonderful years. Some people don't get that many, and some people don't get a spouse that they're happy with, So you got to look at the good stuff. The same way with my daughter,
Yes. And yeah, of course you do. Absolutely you do. Absolutely you do. Yeah, and you, yeah, that's a beautiful story that you've just shared there. That's a beautiful story, and because we have all these silly dating rules sometimes, don't we? That don't date anyone too much younger than yourself or too much older than yourself. But I think that's a load of rubbish sometimes. In one sense, if two people love each other and they're destined to be together because you just know that, don't you? Then there's no problem whatsoever.
It's a destiny. I believe it truly is. And, I have many friends who are married a long time and a short time and clients, and I see people all the time, and I do a lot of guiding with the tarot. I don't just say, "Oh, you're going to meet a tall, dark, and handsome man." That's rubbish. That's gypsy rubbish. I don't do that. I help people with 2 books. One of them is called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy, which is a book of affirmation. It's from 1963, and it's amazing. And I also have created my own concept called Changing the Chi, which I tell people to start from the self outward. I say change your soap, change your hair color, change your shampoo, change what you wear, and start attracting different energy. Because so many people repeat the same thing over and over over again. You know about that. And then they can't settle with anybody. And I tell them to affirm the kind of woman or man that you want to meet, and to change yourself so that you attract something different than the abuser or the liar or whatever. And it works. It just works.
It really does. When you're ready to rather just to be with someone that's on that same level as you and that wants the same things as you, it's a beautiful thing. But then, I've said this in many interviews, there's those relationships of karma, there's those relationships of convenience.
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
Yes, there are.
Yeah. And we need none of this stuff, I've always said as well, as I've been single for a while now, I've just been working on myself, and that's been the best thing ever, to improve myself. But some people are so scared of that. I know I'm going to meet someone, but there's a thing called timing, and there's a thing called alignment as well, and
Yes.
And we're all on a different path, and we can't compare ourselves to no one else neither.
No, we can't. We absolutely can't. And look at you. 38 years old. Look how successful you are. It's amazing. It's wonderful. But you made yourself that way. But you also got there by the people who influenced you, the people who gave you the tools. Those are your luminaries. Those are the people who light our way.
Well,
they're definitely the people who light our way.
Absolutely. Dolores Cannon was one of them. She helped me immensely.
Mine too.
I had a lot of love for Dolores. And And even now there's people coming into my life that and it's incredible. But just getting back to yourself as well, because this is a fascinating interview, and I think we're just going to go over time here, which is okay, which is fine. Okay, so you got a bit of a name for yourself where you used to live, because when you started doing the cards, people were resonating with you that oh my God, there's a lot of truth in what you were saying. I believe there was a story of a police officer that you knew was going to step up in the ranks, and he did.
Yeah.
And and that was one of those first few stories that really helped you in a sense, because word got around quite quickly.
Yeah, well, in a small town, and a police officer, and everybody knows, and he's still my friend, and he was a cop, just a street cop, and I told him he would be, I don't remember what month it was, just for instance, I might have said by July you'll be the chief of police, and he says, you're crazy. I said, no, you will, and he was. Well, he's still my friend. He's long retired, but he was the chief of police for many years. So, policemen love tarot, by the way.
Oh, they do. Yeah. I can imagine they do. And just going back as well to when you was in the library, and when you first started to have that connection with the tarot, isn't that right, that as well, that you do have a story where you ended up, you touched the cards, or something happened with the cards, and you sort of ended up out of this time space frame, and you ended up into a room.
Yes, I went to a white room, and it was very, at the time to me, it was not that unusual, because like I said, I've always had kind of odd experiences, but it was like everything went away in the room, and it was just me and the cards, and it was like I knew. And I still get shivers when I remember it, because it was so bizarre and different. And to think that, you go to Catholic school, you're in Pittsburgh,
Right.
you're, you know what I'm saying? And then to think that I would end up as a tarot card reader would be just like nobody even knew what it was. You know what I mean? And now it's quite popular, and a lot of people like it, and I think, and you may have noticed this too, more and more people are coming out of that, these metaphysical things are wrong. They're coming out of that. They're liking it, they're seeking the spirituality of it. And when I read cards, I do not lose my spirituality, absolutely not. So I think that I try to teach it to other people. So, and not to ram it down anybody's throat, but you know what I mean.
No, I know exactly what you mean. And when we say that the tarot's sort of become popular, but the tarot card was used as a sort of tool of enlightenment back many centuries ago. I mean, this is an old tool, right?
12th century Egypt.
Right.
Yes, the high priestesses in the temples used them. And from my understanding, what happened was during the Renaissance, the cards made their way into France and Italy. Well, all society is based upon its religion, so the French and Italian people loved the symbolism of the tarot, and they painted it with their religion, which is how we arrived at the cards Death and the Devil, because death does not mean you're going to die. It means transformation. And the devil is not a card of demons or Satan. The devil is a card of like bondage, what we bind ourselves to the negative. And the irony was that the Egyptians didn't even believe in death or the devil. They believed in reincarnation. And so it's come a long way. And I'd like to think that I helped it a lot with my lectures and stuff, because I always present to everyone I read these two cards, death, this is the death card here, and the devil, this one. I present them and I tell them so they're not frightened. I don't want anyone to be frightened of a tarot reading, because if anyone tells you you're going to die, I tell people, get up, walk out, don't pay them. They're not God. Only God knows who's going to die. And that's been the issue with the tarot for many, many years. Readers who bilk people, readers who say, oh, your son's going to die, but if you want, I'll light this candle for you and that'll cost you $100.
Yep.
And just that's still going around. They just arrested a woman here by Cleveland a couple weeks ago for stealing from people. And that's not what you do. You're not in it for that. You're in it to help people and guide them. And I won't even read cards for people more than mostly every 6 months to a year, because it's just taking their money. You got to let the universe have some time to spin, as we talked about earlier. And if somebody's in a big crisis, I'll read them every 3 months. But these people who read people every week, every day, they're just robbing them. And I try to make that understanding with people as I do new clients, and I explain to them. So I do cards for people who are at a great distance, but I don't believe for 1 minute that I can sit there. I can cold read you. That's easy. But to do a true tarot reading with the depth that's involved, that person has to handle those cards. So I have clients from all over who I tell, just buy a deck of Rider Waite or Universal Waite tarot cards, shuffle them all up real well, like for 20 minutes, upside down, right side up, shuffle them all up, and mail them to me. And put your phone number and your picture in, and I'll do a reading for you, and then I'll mail them back. Well, I have lots of clients like that, who I have them in Europe, I have them in Panama, I have them in the United States, and that's what I do for them. And to me, that's the only way it can be done. And that's just my belief. It's, other people may believe something else, but that's what I believe. And I try to be as honest as I can.
Okay, so you're kind of self-taught. I mean, no one's taught you, have they, how to... No. So would you say that this is your particular way of doing the readings by, because that's quite unusual, where it's quite cool as well, where, you get them to physically handle the cards and send a picture in, and you're kind of transferring their energy onto the cards in a sense, aren't you, that they've actually handled it? Yeah.
Always been the belief of anyone who read tarot, was the client's energy had to be transmitted to the cards. So how can you read and I do a big tarot reading. I don't just do 10 cards spread. I use about 50 cards in my reading, and I touch on all the areas of life which are divided in the tarot into love, money, power, and work. And love is love for our fellow man, for our pets, for whoever, our lovers. Money is possessions, money, finances, investments, things like that. Power is health, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And work is going to work every day. And it's also what you do with your day. I mean, today I had a friend for dinner. That's part of my work. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's how do I say this? Like, the tarot encompasses everything. And as a reader, with the tarot, I am able to tell people how those 4 areas of their life are going to go. But again, I tell them free will is the strongest force in the universe. And if you don't like what this says, then don't do it. And I've warned people about health problems and stuff. I don't do death. It's not me. But I've warned them about health problems, job problems, people problems. I see it. It's all there. It's like, to me, Kevin, it's like reading a book.
So yeah, absolutely. So let me get this right. So whatever comes through in the reading, whatever you're going to bring through, and they can ask questions as well, can't they? They're allowed to ask. Yeah. So even if they ask a question or it's something you've told them as well, whichever way, right? What you're saying here is that they have free will, in the sense that whatever's coming through from their question or what's coming through from what you've told them, that's based on the direction that their energy is focused on right now and the way their life is going. But what you're saying is that they can still change it and have whatever it is that they want to have or wish to experience. They are still in charge. This isn't, a reading that's, to say, look, this is it. This is exactly how it's going to happen.
Absolutely not. That's where I come in with the power of the subconscious, the changing of the chi, of telling people, I'm very honest as a reader. I've told people, get the hell away from him. He's going to put a gun to your head. I see it, And do they listen sometime? Do they not? Sometime. So, I can see details. I can see, your child is going to win the spelling bee in, their school this year. I can see all that stuff there. You can do, and I tell people, ask me whatever you want about yourself and those closest to you regarding love, money, work, travel, anything at all. I don't care. I don't have any holds on my questions. You can ask me anything you want to ask me, but you always have free will to change it. And I think that's comforting to people. And I think, well, I know that that's how tarot was used by the high priestesses. It was a learning tool. It's not to say, oh my God, you're going to get hit by a truck. Well, if you see a traffic accident, you can actually see in the reading a time frame in the zodiac. So in Aries, it might look like there's some difficulty, like there might be a tower and a reverse chariot, and it would be like a car accident. So what I say to them, okay, in Aries, which is March 20th to April 20th, just be real careful if you're driving, and they tell me, or you're going to get a traffic ticket or whatever. I can tell all this little stuff, big stuff. It's wonderful. I love tarot. I think that everyone should get their cards read or learn how to read them. I think that you could read for yourself, for each other, It's a tool, and I tell people to take their decks and pull a card out every day and read what it means. They have my book or someone else's book, whatever book they prefer, and read that card and say, oh, well, okay, this is going to be my watchword for today. I picked the lovers, so I'm going to send the healing energy of love to somebody today, and it's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, this is really, really important. I've had to remind myself of this as well just recently, from the perspective of what we've just been talking about here, that when I feel that when we get a reading, whether it's an astrology reading, whether it's a reading with yourself through tarot, whether it's someone with psychic gifts and it's, however they're doing it, or it's a channeler, I always feel that it's a way for your higher self to speak to you. Would you just agree on that?
I totally agree with that. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's your soul speaking to you, right? So
exactly.
Why would your soul, which loves you, give you information that you may not want to go down that path? Why would you want to hear something that it's telling you that you don't want to hear, in the sense maybe, you're destined to meet this person, but it's just for work?
Yeah. Well, because that's what it's for. It's very blunt. It's very honest. I mean, I can say to somebody, you're going to meet a Queen of Cups, which is an archetype. In my book, I have the 16 archetypes. And you're going to meet a Queen of Cups. And then I'll describe her to the person. And you're going to meet her through the direct introduction of a friend. And when you meet her, this is what will transpire. And if you want to, you can marry her. There's a marriage card there. But I always say now, in fact, I don't even say that because of the way the world is today. I used to say a marriage card. It's a 10 of Cups. I would say you have a blessed union. And it can be marriage or it can just be together, but it's a blessed union. And then I go into detail. But I'm not their looks. I don't know what they look like, but I know that they're type. And or you're going to meet a King of Wands, and the King of Wands is the Earth King, and you'll feel safe with him, which a lot of women need to feel safe. There's a lot of danger in the world today, not just physical danger, but mental and spiritual and emotional. You see it every day on the TV. And so and that's how I felt with my husband. I felt safe. I knew that he would keep me safe, and he did. And I think that a lot of women seek that. And when I see that in the reading, I'm very happy for that woman, because I know that she'll meet him. And, and a lot of women aspire to the wrong thing. A lot of men aspire to the wrong thing.
Of course.
And sometimes the tarot would be kind of blunt and say, well, that's just not the right person for you, or that
but
job is not.
Yeah, go ahead.
You don't.
Yeah.
No, that's all.
Well, yeah, but it's that thing, isn't it, of what we were just saying there, that okay, so it's not set in stone and you can change it. So why would information come through that's not something that you would really want?
So that you could avoid it.
So that you could avoid it, yeah.
Wouldn't that make sense?
It would do. So do you think sometimes that, we get tested by, even if we go to get a reading, that sometimes, that if something comes through that doesn't, feel right, that maybe it's coming through as a test and it's the only way for it to come through? Maybe what it's actually doing is it's a test to say to you, you are in charge. You were always in charge. You create your reality. So rather than, to not take responsibility, take some responsibility and create the life you want. But then you could say, well, why do we bother going to see a reader? But
Because they're not aware of what that is. A lot of people just aren't aware of their spirituality. They're not aware of their soul place. They're just not aware. And they repeat. I mean, I have people, Calvin, who have repeated the same behavior over and over and over and over. You tell them every time, and it's funny because it's almost like you're there to teach. That's what you're doing. You're teaching, and you're using their own soul to teach them. Does that make sense?
It does. It does.
That's what I think. I mean, that's just my take on it, but that's me. And everyone's entitled, of course, to their own belief, but a lot of people have over the years been afraid of the tarot. There's nothing to fear. I mean, it's wonderful. People have told me that their lives have been completely changed by that. I had one guy one time, he's a young guy at the time, this is 30 years ago.
Yep.
And he was here in town working construction, and I knew him. He was one of my daughter's friends, and he was working construction, and with his dad and my husband, and he was real into dirt bikes. His name is Trevor Vines. Well, he opened a shop to sell them and everything, and I used to say he always had cards of fame, which is the Chariot and the Sun, and I'd say, Trevor, why don't you go and compete and do and be what you want to be? Well, he was afraid. Well, finally he said one day, he was about 20-ish, I guess. He said he got sick of listening to me. So he packed his dirt bike on his truck. He headed off to California. He became world famous. He still is. He's amazing. He's probably 43 now. He has a place out in the country where he teaches riding to people, and they ride for fun. And he still appears. I think he was in Italy last summer. He still appears. I said, I don't know how you can do that. Aren't you scared? And I said, you're an old man. He's like, no. And he said his life was changed by the tarot. He told me that. He said it gave him the courage to go on, because I used to tell him, there, look at this is what this means. Look. And he did it. But if he didn't do it, then he would do it in his next lifetime, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And what came through on that reading for him, it felt right. It was empowering. It was loving, and he must have remembered some of that reading, so that it's just when certain doors opened for him, maybe some of that reading came back to him, what you had told him in that moment.
He did.
Yeah, it
He told
did.
me that.
I did
I'm
it
still
right.
friends with him, and he tells me all the time it changed his whole life.
Yeah.
And I have many people who were afraid to try something like one of my friends wanted to be a lawyer, and he was afraid that he wouldn't pass the bar, and he was scared, and I taught him affirmation, and he passed the bar. He was quite happy, and you can sometimes use the tarot just to reassure people, because they'll come with that question. I really want to be a lawyer. I've taken all the classes, but I'm afraid I won't pass the bar. Will I pass the bar? Flip the cards. Okay, I can see it, yes or no. And if the answer is no, I say, okay, this is what you have to do before you do it. And then if they do it, it works. I'm not saying that I'm some kind of magic person, but the cards have a great deal of information, a huge amount of information, down to dates, times, places, people, nuances, all kind of things are in the tarot. It's an amazing tool, and the more I use it, the better I love it.
It's amazing, isn't it? It is absolutely amazing. And yeah, I don't know why, right? Just in my head, I'm just like, yeah, but there's still that as we just spoke about before, and I shouldn't really move away from this, but it's that we do get tested though. Sometimes information comes through that's going to test us.
That's very true. I've never really thought about it, but I don't see why it wouldn't be true. That could be true.
Yeah. And I think that's happened to me sometimes through when I've just had a reading with someone, and it's not, and I'm like, oh, do I really? That's not the information I wanted to hear. Do you know what I mean? But then again, we're in charge, and maybe sometimes things come through just to make us see things from a different perspective, and just give us that bit of a jolt sometimes, so that we
give us a push. I agree.
Yeah, give us a push. Yeah. And none of this is straight. None of this is straightforward, and none of this is a complete science. But what it is it gets you to go within. And it gets you to take self-responsibility.
That's right.
And it gets you to create your reality. So and you mentioned something there as well, which is fear, and you mentioned when we go with fear sometimes, and I think that's a great thing, that when we go past that fear and anxiety, that what lies beyond it is some amazing things. Some of the best times await you when you go past fear and anxiety.
That's so true, so true. And I've been exposed to that a lot in my life. I have to do this, and I'm going to do it. And you got to go through it. And to me, fear is like walking through a door made of paper. And once you break through that door, you have a whole new sunshine in front of you. Right. And people are so fearful. And many times, the tarot gives them just that, what you said, that little jolt. Okay, break through that door. See what's over there. Go do that, or don't do that, or go ahead and do it. See what happens. You know what I mean? It's not going to be ever in the tarot that if you try something you're going to drop dead, because that's not what's going to say. It's never going to say.
Right. No.
When your time to die it's your time to die. But the tarot is everyone loves it. I don't know anyone whose cards I read who doesn't love it. And now I'm on the third generation. I've got the grandmothers who are all my age in their late 60s or 70s. Then I have the mothers who are in their 40s, and now I have their children who are in their 20s, in their teens. And I'll do 16 is the youngest I'll do, but I don't do too many of them. But
no,
I've actually, I teach classes, and I've taught two girls, Ginny Brennan and Pam Laskowski, to do readings, because I won't do house parties or anything anymore, like, bachelorette parties and stuff, but they do them. And so when somebody calls me for one, I tell them, call Pam or Ginny and give them their numbers, and they've built themselves a nice little business, which is nice, I just don't want to I guess I'm getting old, I just don't want to do that anymore, but tarot should be around, and there should be good readers, and there should be trained readers.
Right.
Who are trained at least in the knowledge that you don't scare people with it, you don't take from people, you don't do that. Tarot reading is pure giving.
Well, okay. So with the tarot reading, then, obviously, I've had readings with people where they're using tarot cards. But they always say it's just, the information's not coming from the cards, the information's coming from them, but the tarot cards are there to sort of open them up, to bring through their intuition.
Well, you're the interpreter. You're the interpreter of the tarot, is what you are as a reader. But they joggle your mind. Just looking at the pictures, and I'll be truthful with you. Do I really need cards? No. But do they give me more information than I could get otherwise? Absolutely. They give me the details. And your eyes just kind of, when you're a reader, your eyes just kind of gaze over them. And what I like about them is you can pick up a card and say to somebody, well, look, this means transformation, and a new beginning. It's number one. You're on a new path, and you could show it to them. That's why I like to do that. The cards are between you and your client, and they give you like a tangible thing to show them. And I do that all the time. I pick them up, I instruct people, I say, look at this. This looks like somebody's stealing. This is a theft card. But that doesn't mean you're going to get robbed. It could mean that. Depends what else is around it. But maybe somebody's stealing your hope or stealing your integrity. There's all kinds of So what you have to do, you have to look at the cards and let your mind, as a reader, yes, I mean, you're the reader. So and your intuition is you have to have good intuition to read tarot. And then it comes to you what it is. Because it could be, some cards have 25 meanings on them, you know.
Yeah, yeah. 25 meanings. Wow. Okay. I guess that's why one of the reasons why you did your book as well. You know, Rebirth of the Oracle, the Tarot for the Modern World. Because in that book, you know, you list all the cards, don't you, and the various meanings for those cards.
Yeah, every one of them. And I
Everyone.
took a card now, like the Eight of Wands. That used to mean arrows of love through the air. Well, now I use that when I wrote my book. I updated the tarot and I used it as a media card, arrows of love through the air. Internet romance. What about that? See what I'm saying?
Right.
It makes sense. And what I did is I updated the tarot. So bottom line is that my book is probably a standard for many people, but there are lots of good tarot books out there. And, you know, I think the newer ones especially, they're getting away from that, you know, ooh, spooky. You know, you don't do that. That's just not what tarot. If you're a high priestess and that's your tool to teach when you're in Egypt, talking about, what is it now? Isn't it the same thing?
Yeah.
If we carry it through the centuries, shouldn't it be the same thing? A teaching tool, right?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, how you remember all those different cards, but that's your, you know, you've done this before in past lives, so it's not surprising to me.
The thing that I tell people is there's a lot of tarot decks out there. You wouldn't want like the Marseille deck, because the Marseille deck will have 2 coins on it, and that's the 2 of Pentacles. But if you see the 2 of Pentacles in the Waite deck or some of the newer decks, the Marseille deck's very old, it'll have a picture of an imbalance of money with 2 pentacles, which are coins. And you can look at that's why I use the Universal Waite deck to illustrate my book, or the Rider Waite. They're both the same, they're just colored differently.
Yeah.
Because that deck is the most widely used deck. And if you stare at a card long enough, you can see the meaning in it. And if you know the little nuances, like roses are for hope, lilies are for peace. And actually, I had so impressed somebody was saying that at one point, one of my clients, that he sent me, when my daughter died, a huge bouquet of roses and lilies. Wasn't that beautiful?
That's beautiful.
I'll never forget that. Never forget that.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah, it is. It's beautiful. So there were two of my friends that sent it, and yeah, it was just amazing. There's and the infinity symbol appears on many cards, which is ad infinitum, things you can think of. There's 4 decks in the tarot, 4 suits rather, plus the major arcana, which there's just a lot of information. I mean, you got 78 cards full of information. And if you can't, my readings last an hour. And sometime if I have time, I'll go over the hour. I don't care. And it just, you can pick up so much information. And the more you look at them, the more you pick up. You could do it. You've got some magic to you.
Yeah, you know, we've all got different gifts, haven't we? We've all got unique different gifts. And I always say it would be a boring world if we were all the same. So, you know, you've got this specific way of doing it, which others have as well. And there's other people out there with completely different gifts. And I always feel as well that people are drawn to you, that those who need to come to you will be sent to you. I do feel
I
that.
think you're exactly right about that. I really believe that.
Yeah.
I truly, that's a truth right there. And I think there's so many people with so many gifts, and you know, just because I read cards the way I read cards, other people read them the way they read them. That's fine. I mean, everybody has their way, but I like my way. I do my way.
Of course.
But,
and I think as long as you're trying to come from being of service and love as well for what you do as your purpose, it's in this field, then that's the most integral you can be. You know, there's nothing wrong with charging and making money from what you do. I think as long as you're fair with what you do, and if someone's willing to come to you, then it's all it's all
Right.
meant to be.
It is, and I don't believe in taking huge sums of money from people. I never have. I don't believe in making them come back every day or every week.
No.
It's wrong. You have to give the universe time to spin, and you have to make a living, but you don't have to make $500 an hour. It's absurd. So it is, and people charge all kinds of things, and with their gifts, and some people are honest, and some people aren't, and it's like everything else. You got to weed them out and feel them out, and there's healers, and then there's real healers, and there's channelers, and there's real channelers. You know what I mean? That really get information. Because I've been to, I tried to talk hear from my husband, and I was at a what do you call a medium. She didn't even know my husband was gone, and I was like, how could you not know that? And then she started giving me a bunch of gobbledygook, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And then her price was for half an hour was $85. I thought, you're ridiculous. I mean, I paid it because that was her business, but I just don't understand how people do that. I mean, I really don't understand. I charge $50 for an hour. And then for senior citizens, I take money off. And if people don't have any money, I can tell by their cards if they have any money. I don't charge them at all. But most people, like I say, for every person who can't pay, there's 100 who can.
Yeah.
And I used to do a lot. I don't do a lot anymore. I do maybe 10 readings. I'm going to start doing like 10 readings a week. I need to recover.
Of course you do. Yeah, that most definitely. You're still in that period right now, and like I said to you at the beginning of this interview, I'm so grateful for you coming on and sharing your story and being with me right now in that healing process. And I'm hoping this is helping you as well as much as it is.
It is.
Yeah.
I think you're wonderful. I can't wait to meet you and read your cards. And if you want, you can get a deck and mail them to me. You're in London?
In the UK, in a place called Leeds, and what we've spoken off camera, and we've said that because I'm coming to Minneapolis, and you've got your son lives there, that we will definitely be meeting there, and I'll probably be holding an event in Minneapolis, so I think we're going to be joining together on that as well, which is going to be a beautiful thing, and we've not decided any locations yet or anything like that. That will come soon.
You just let me know.
Yeah.
And I will be happily there because I would love to read your cards because I tell everybody there's magic and there's logic. And some people have one, some have the other, and some have both. And you have both. And that's such a wonderful combination because those are the people who succeed, magic and logic people. And that's why you're going to be well known.
I appreciate that.
As young as you are, but you will be.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any attempt you make is going to succeed. I already know. I can feel it. So. Yeah,
you try to be genuine with what you do. I mean, it's like myself. When I channel, I say to myself, well, I can't. I probably, I don't. I don't have medium gifts. I don't believe I do. Right. When I do the channeling, it's always teaching information. It's the readings that people have is from a completely different perspective, and connecting with a loved one that's passed on. It's probably not what I would do. Probably
well, that's not. Mediumship anyway, but you're channeling, do you ever hear from Dolores?
Yes.
You do? Yes. Wonderful.
Yes, but it's not anything coming through teaching information and stuff. She came through on a chapter of my book that I'm writing, and it was more of just her presence being there. It was a break in the book, and she was just coming through just to congratulate, the people reading the book and how far they'd come. And it wasn't.
She'll definitely. That would be her.
Yeah.
That would be her.
Yeah.
I dreamed of her one time last year. I dreamed of her, and she just was sitting in a chair, real straight like she sat, and she smiled at me, and that was the whole dream.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful.
Well, I loved it. Yeah. And I woke up and I was happy. And I think she's smiling at you if she's coming through to you. And she would have helped you. I mean, she would have genuinely helped you promote your book and be successful. I know. And if she's already in your head helping you, you are going to be promoting that book and be genuinely successful. What's your book about?
Well, it's called Who Am I Really? Who Are You Really? I think that's what is that what it's called? I don't know. My bloody memory is terrible. Yeah. And it's really, you know, a channeled information about the truth of where we are right now and what this reality may be about. I think it's about the nature of reality. I think that's what it's about. But you know, the interesting, and I say I'm coming across like this, like I don't know what the book's about, but it was channeled and it's just in the editing process right now. But I've got back the first 2 chapters and I've got to say they blew me back. They really did. And it's all.
I can't wait to read it.
Well, it's all about that. You know, we make our own truth up. We create our reality and we make the truth up, and we've all got an individual truth. And when we cross over, that truth it goes with us as well, and nothing tries to take that truth away from us. We are on a continuous journey of evolving our truth of what this reality is and who we really are. What is this consciousness we are?
You can't kill the light of the soul, right?
Right.
You keep on going.
Right.
And you make your changes and you travel and I think that would be a comforting book for me to read. I'd like to read that.
Well,
is it coming out soon?
I've just hit a bit of a snag with the editing side of it, and that's I may have to look for another editor, which I really don't want to do. We're just at a bit of a crossroads right now with some issues, but you know, this is the test of life, isn't it? You know,
I guess it seems to be for me. So
yeah,
I think we all have our happiness, we all have our sadness, we all have our fears. We have all of us, everyone I know.
Right.
And some people will escape into a fear and stay there, and I mean literally, you know, be bound in by that fear, or go to an addiction. Wait a minute, let me just shut this off. Or go to an addiction, and the sadness is that they don't need to do that. They don't have to do that. And sometime when you're a reader or a channeler, you can help them break that addiction. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You can actually help them.
Yes.
So,
yes,
I mean,
I think for anyone wanting to get into doing the tarot readings or feels that they have the ability, even for myself, who's someone that channels, it takes a lot of guts to trust yourself and to know that's that there is a genuine connection that you have. We've all got that connection. We're a soul having a human experience. Of course, we've got that connection, but it's re-remembering that we are that soul having a human experience.
I love that word, re-remembering. Did you make that up?
I think so.
That is an awesome word. Put that in your book for sure.
It probably is in there. I
want to use that. Do you care if I use it?
Go with it. I always say, if some people say to me, well, you've used words that other people have used on your show when you channel sometimes. I'm like, well, if truth is truth, then that's what's going to come out. We're just re-reminding each other of what we already know. And that's all that's happening just there. I think it's just, you have to have the faith and you have to practice and just know that, if you're coming from love and you're coming from a space of wanting to help, well, you'll be surprised what doors open for you when you're going through your training.
Don't you think most people who do practice metaphysical sciences are helpers? That's what we are, isn't it?
Of course. You know what we are? We're here to help people awaken. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're doing.
Light workers. And, either you're a light worker or you're not. That's the bottom line. And some people aren't there yet. They haven't reached that point in their life. No. I've met light workers. I watched the little clip you sent me of Courtney. Amazing. Unbelievable. And what is she, 16?
Oh, Courtney. Oh, yes. The world's youngest child. No, she's 21. Yes.
Well, I looked at her and I was like amazed. But then you see people who are my age, and older, who are still, I'm 67, and who are still doing it, and people in between. And there's all kinds of people, all ages. And sometimes, if you're very, very young, people are not, well, to me, if I'm teaching a 20-year-old how to read tarot, it's unlikely that a 50-year-old is going to listen to her. but her own age group will, you know?
Right.
And
Yes.
and the older you get, the more they're willing to listen, because as the high priestess is aged, you know, that's the wisdom, the wisdom, the wisdom. And so I think that's true in metaphysics too. The older practitioners of age-wise who have practiced longer are a little bit different than the new ones, but the new ones are good. You can't argue it, you know?
Yeah, you're talking about the name you mentioned there, Courtney Amerson. She
Yes.
came onto my show,
Right.
and yeah, yeah, she blew me away in some respects. Just how connected she was. She channels, and
But
you know
I think
she.
those crystal children and indigo children are
That's
all
what I was
coming
going to
into it.
say. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, she is an example of that energy, and there's been others like her who have come across my path as well, and it's
Yeah.
incredible to see. But you know what it says to me, that you know the soul is ageless, and it depends what the souls come here to do. There's no free ticket. There's no free ride, and you know, whatever we've come here to do, there will still be lots of challenges and, you know, and issues that we go through. But there is a shift going on out there, most definitely, and it's great to see it.
Well, isn't it supposed to be this whole year? Because 2017 adds up to the number one,
Oh,
which is
God.
like a master number or something.
Yeah, can you feel that? Can you feel that? That this is just,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
No, you know what? I think 2016 was one of the worst feeling years that there ever was. I really do. And everybody said it. Everybody was into like this dark place and nothing was new. And now this year I start seeing the light come on to people. One of my friends had been, you know, all of a sudden they're moving to Texas and they're real excited. And another one's getting married who didn't think she would ever get married. And it's just like a lot of happiness, you know,
Right.
people. And I'm glad,
Yeah.
yeah. And
That
I'm
is
glad to produce happiness.
That is so true. I've got to say, right, this year for me has just been the most amazing year so far I've ever had for such a long time. You know,
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm happy for you.
just to be sat here right now with you doing this interview, but I know that I'm heading to the States in, you know, this year, and I'll be, you know, heading staying there for a while, and that I'll be going back and forth all the time from now on. There's been a lot of this year. You know, this year is almost like ultimate highs and ultimate lows.
17.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think 16 was ultimate lows and 17 hopefully is going to be highs.
it
I
could
hope
be. Yeah, yeah.
for
Well,
some people,
yeah,
but you're right. You're going to get highs and lows. Everybody
of
does.
course. Yeah,
But
of
they're
course.
different kinds, you know?
Yes.
Everybody has different kinds. It's either going to be, you know, a lot of people will say things to me like, I don't have any money. Well, I'll say to them, well, the reason you don't have any money is because you just said that and the universe heard you. And then I try to like turn it around for them. But the one thing I found through my own experience that you can't change is someone else's health. You can't. As much as you pray, as much as you try, and magic that you perform, if it's going to be what it's going to be. You can't stop that because that's God. But as far as I mean, you can change your own health. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but
Yeah.
you know, you can't make somebody better. That's not what you can do. But you can certainly earn money. You can certainly get a new job. You can certainly find a partner. It's all there for us. It's like a big, huge map. And just have to go to like you're going to go to Minnesota. Who knows what you're going to find in Minnesota? Minneapolis is a fabulous city. It really is. I think it's the most family-oriented city I have ever been in. It's beautiful, and it's thriving. And where you're going to start there, I think it's just an accident, right? That you ended up there.
Yeah, well, it's a great starting place. It's a great starting
Yeah.
place, and I've got other places I've got to go to. I've got to go to Atlanta, and there's a documentary that I'm filming that's going to take us across the US. There's so much going on. But you know what? If I had to choose a base, if this is to choose a base, then I'm actually starting to feel that actually Minneapolis was a great choice. But
It is.
actually, if I'll be honest, which I can only be honest, right? It was actually Courtney that reached out to me after doing a vlog that said to me, why don't you come to Minneapolis? And this could be a great place for you to come to because she's not too far from there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
She is? Oh my gosh, I
yeah,
want to meet her.
yeah, well, if we're going to do an event together in Minneapolis, I was going to do an event with her. I was actually going to do a channel talk with her in Minneapolis. So you would be part of that. So you will be meeting her. How weird would that be, right? Um,
Oh, how about the next time I go to Minneapolis, I call her up and meet her?
But of course you could. Well, yeah, yeah. I'll give you her contact details. But yeah, it was her that actually put that came to me and said, why don't you come over? And I was like, you know what, life's too short. I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. Damn it, this has got to be a good choice. And when I made that choice, here's the weirdest thing: when I made that choice, then other doors started to opening. I had
Right?
a lady in the TV world that contacted us from Atlanta that I'm going to be doing some touring with, that I've not even talked about yet on this channel, that I will release a vlog to do soon. The documentary was already going forward, which actually Courtney is part of that documentary, this channeling documentary. I tell you what, when you let go and let God in, sometimes it's the best thing to do. The best thing.
It is. And sometimes you just have to just say, surrender. Here,
Yeah.
do it. And you know what? After Mary Ann died, that's what I said.
Is that
I
right?
said, I did. I just was, when she passed away, she suffered a lot. And of course, her husband, my husband, who was dead, she kept seeing him. My granddaughter, Mary Elise, her husband, Joe, her friends, we were there. Her and her cousin, Jenna, was there. And I don't remember. There was quite a few people there. But anyway, when they took her body out of her living room, because she was in a hospital bed, I heard this big sound like whoosh, and then she was gone out of the room. And I was at peace. And I said to God, okay, I've lost my husband, I've lost my daughter, and I can't do any more. Your turn. You just do with me what you will. And so I've just let it all flow, like you calling me, everything. And you know what, Kevin? I don't even remember when you called me. It was on the edge of my mind. You remember I sent you that text message or that
Yeah,
email.
I do. I
I
do.
forgot. I forgot everything about it. I forgot the date. I forgot the time. And I even forgot what it was until, but it was, knocking at my subconscious. So it's pretty amazing. And I'm here because God wants me to be here. That's what I decide. Everywhere I am, everything I do, every person I meet, everything I deal with, it must be where I'm at. It's easier to just surrender.
You know
You know?
that's a beautiful thing you've just shared there with the audience. Because I tell you what, when I was living in Amsterdam just last year, I surrendered, and
Yeah.
I tell you what, that's when doors started to open for me. That's when I started to heal, when I surrendered. I've
Yeah.
actually got that on a vlog. It's actually on one of my vlogs out there. I just
It is.
surrendered. Yeah, I just surrendered, and that's when things started to change, and I didn't expect them to. So I can definitely emphasize and come on the same level as you with what you've just said there. I mean, okay, I've not had to lose anyone, but I'm just glad that you said what you said there, and that's what you've done, and I think that what with doing that, that's going to put you in a beautiful space to heal. That
Oh,
really
thank,
is.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that
I
is.
really, and this is part of my journey. Being with you today has been lovely. I enjoyed our talk earlier. I certainly enjoyed this one.
Oh,
And
well, it's been a chat, hasn't it? I mean, yeah,
I
then,
know we've been talking for whatever, a million minutes, but
yeah, this has been good. This has been good, and I know that in our next interview that we're going to do, that time will have taken a bit more of a stance, and things will be different for you again, which is going to be a wonderful thing. To be able to look, and to look back on this interview.
I
Well,
have a question to ask you. Now, if I want to see this interview, I go on your show,
Well,
on
don't worry, because
your,
yeah, I will be sending you all the details for that. Don't
oh,
worry.
I
Yeah,
don't know how to do it.
yeah,
Well, I
don't.
went on your website and I watched Dolores talk for a while.
Right.
You had like some I don't know what they were, like covers or something.
Yes.
Or yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, don't worry about that. I will get in contact with you for that. But
Oh, dude,
for
because I'm so technologically challenged, it's not even funny. So,
don't worry, don't worry. I'll help you with. I'll send you this interview once it goes live. But for the audience as well, if people wanted to get a reading with yourself,
yes.
how would they get in contact with you?
Oh, yeah, they can call me. My telephone number is 440-224-0862, or they can email me, Justine Alessi, all lowercase, at gmail.com, or they can write me a note, P.O. Box 214, North Kingsville, Ohio 44068.
Okay.
And if I don't answer the phone, leave a message and I will call them back.
Okay. Well, we're going to put those details on the screen as well. They're
Okay.
going up on the screen now. Okay. There was so many other questions I wanted to ask you, but we've completely run out of time. But I think we've got the most important things in there. What would you say then is an important message to the audience?
I think the most important message is that now in this 21st century, in 2017, that everybody open up to what's out there. Don't be afraid. Don't cower in the corner. Go meet life, because it's so important that you go out there and you meet it, because it has something to give you. That would be my
Absolutely.
message.
Absolutely. Well, Justine Alessi, just thank you so much for joining us today.
Totally my pleasure, Kevin. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. You take care.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests by going to themoreshow.com, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.